fine job, Dr. Hankin. Why, she's healed beautifully. In fact, Doctor, I've never seen such fantastic plastic surgery in my life. Good morning, beautiful. Listen, Miriam, if you're not busy this evening. Miriam, take a look.
Ever stared in the mirror and thought, if only I could just tweak that one little thing?
Ha! I think we've all been there at some point.
Well, welcome to the Time Cabinet.
Yeah.
Here, we don't just, think about those tweaks. We dive headfirst into the, frankly, hilarious and sometimes pretty horrifying history of chasing that perfect look.
It's definitely a wild ride through human history.
Forget your usual doom scrolling. Today, we're digging into reality, and trust me, it's way stranger than fiction when it comes to beauty standards. Arsenic diets. Seriously.
Or machines promising to, zap away freckles with carbon dioxide?
Exactly. It's just bonkers.
It really makes you think, though, about this enduring human thing, this fundamental desire not just to improve, but often to completely change how we look. What's really driving that?
That's the core of it, isn't it? We're not just listing weird procedures here. We're exploring that deep human need to fit in, maybe stand out, or just feel a bit better about ourselves.
It's a story filled with hope, definitely, but also a lot of insecurity.
And some truly bizarre inventions, fueled by that age-old question. Am I good enough?
You see this pattern again and again, this push and pull between what people want to look like and what society sort of deems acceptable or even desirable.
Just think about it. Ancient Egyptians with their kohl eyeliner right up to your Instagram feed today with all those subtle filters. Haven't we always been a bit obsessed?
It seems ingrained.
So what is it about being human that drives us to these lengths? And honestly, Max Factor's beauty calibrator. Did anyone actually believe that thing worked?
It's kind of amazing the level of ingenuity, even if it was totally misguided sometimes, that people applied to changing their appearance. It really speaks to this, deep-seated creativity turned inward.
Think about the pressures you feel today. A quick filter, maybe an extra gym session. Now, just imagine amplifying that across centuries of changing and sometimes completely baffling beauty ideals.
It's not just history, it's really the story of us.
Yeah, the human condition in all its sometimes vainglory.
And what's striking is how these desires and pressures stay so constant, even when the tools and the actual ideals change radically.
Okay, so for this deep dive in the Time Cabinet, we're charting how beauty standards evolved and the, often wild things people did to achieve them.
We'll be looking at historical accounts, media trends, medical developments.
Mostly focusing on the 20th and 21st centuries. Our mission, to try and understand what drives these changes and, maybe more importantly, how they affect us, you and me.
Right. So where do we start? The 20th century.
Let's do it. Let's unpack the 20th century and how, kind of paradoxically, something as awful as war actually led to some pretty big advancements.
It's a fascinating point how sheer necessity, especially from tragedy, can drive invention, even in areas you wouldn't immediately connect to survival.
Absolutely. World War I. I mean, injuries were horrific on a scale never seen before. It created this urgent need for huge leaps in reconstructive surgery.
Surgeons were facing facial trauma unlike anything they'd dealt with. The sheer number and severity of the injuries just demanded new techniques.
And it wasn't completely new ground. Even before the war, you had figures like Johann Friedrich von Diefenbach in the 19th century doing pioneering work. Nasal reconstruction, for example.
And a big reason for that was
Syphilis, believe it or not. Late-stage syphilis could literally cause the nose to collapse. Pretty gruesome stuff.
Which highlights that link between, intense social stigma and the push for medical fixes. The physical disfigurement just added to the suffering.
Definitely. Now, speaking of things that make you wince, I saw this funny note. Apparently someone initially wrote that beauty standards took a 360-degree turn.
Chuckle slightly. Like we just spun around and ended up back where we started.
Right. Someone needed a geometry lesson. Anyway, back to the real pioneers. Harold Gillies. He's rightly called the father of modern plastic surgery.
His work was groundbreaking.
He came back to London after WWI and just relentlessly pushed for a dedicated unit for facial trauma. That was a total game changer.
He had real foresight, didn't he? Thinking not just about fixing the immediate wounds, but the long-term physical and, crucially, the psychological impact on these soldiers.
And the photos of his work, the before and afters, maybe not as slick as today, but truly transformative. Skin flaps, grafts. He was giving these men a chance to rejoin life without being defined by their injuries.
And that success, the ability to reconstruct faces so effectively, really laid the groundwork. It built the technical skills and, just as importantly, public confidence in surgery's potential to alter appearance.
That's the key pivot. Reconstructive success opened the door to aesthetic surgery. People thought, well, if they can fix that, maybe they can fix this little thing I don't like.
From battlefield repairs
To the influence of that glowing box in the corner television.
the power of mass media. Suddenly these ideals could be beamed everywhere, instantly.
The arrival of TV was this huge seismic shift. These larger-than-life figures became the new benchmarks. And who embodies that more than Marilyn Monroe, an absolute icon?
But was she dictating the standards or more reflecting and amplifying what people already desired?
It's probably a bit of both, wouldn't you say? Marilyn didn't just appear fully formed. Early on, she definitely adapted to the standards of the time.
Right, like the platinum blonde hair.
Exactly. That was a conscious move, mirroring Rita Hayworth's popularity. And Marilyn herself looked up to Jean Harlow from the 30s.
So it's this chain of influence, like echoes through time, borrowing, reinterpreting.
Totally, a beauty standard echo. And this television effect, it created this intense desire to look like those people on screen. People were genuinely starstruck.
And TV made them feel so much more immediate, more relatable than, say, distant royalty ever could.
But what's interesting is the 20th century actually had a pretty diverse range of icons, didn't it? You had Audrey Hepburn, Brigitte Bardot, Jane Birkin. It wasn't just one look.
Which is a good point. Given that variety, why did that underlying desire to change oneself stay so strong?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Despite all these different admired looks, people still felt that pressure. Which brings us to aesthetic surgery becoming more mainstream.
$20 million worth of plastic surgery. And that's the face you choose.
Do you not like it?
It'll do.
The desire meets the increasing technical possibility.
Think about Anna Nicole Smith. Her whole image was so tied to Marilyn Monroe. The blonde hair, the reported surgeries, the implants, all trying to capture that look.
It's quite a haunting parallel, especially considering the tragic similarities in their lives later on. It shows the intensity of that pressure.
And then you get more modern examples, like Sahar Tabar, with those extreme attempts disputed, maybe to look like Angelina Jolie or even the Corpse Bride character. It shows the extremes people will go to now.
And the Jolie profile or Jolie angles, that specific focus on the jawline became a really common request.
Yeah, that defined jaw became a thing.
Ah.
But before we get too far into modern stuff, let's rewind a bit. Early liposuction and breast augmentation. Not exactly smooth sailing at first.
No, definitely not. There was a lot of trial and error, let's say, often with pretty high risks.
That very first lipo attempt in 1920 on Suzanne Knoll, a total disaster. The surgeon took out skin and fat, couldn't close the wound.
And ended up removing muscle, too.
Yeah, and tragically she lost her leg, a truly awful start.
It's a stark reminder of the risks back then, the need for proper research, testing, ethics.
Absolutely. Safer techniques took decades. The suction method with a cannula, that wasn't really developed until the 70s. And breast augmentation.
Take a look around, man. I mean, I can give you tits. You want tits?
Well, perceptions of size definitely changed.
Marilyn probably played a role there, too, influencing the public interest.
For sure. And the story of the first implants is wild. Timmy Jean Lindsay, 1962, just wanted a tattoo removed.
And the surgeons just happened to have invented silicone implants.
Exactly. Tested only on a dog, apparently. They offered her a free trial, and she walked out with implants. Pure chance.
Serendipity in medical history.
And their popularity really exploded later, maybe helped by things like Baywatch, Pamela Anderson.
The cultural impact is undeniable.
So the 20th century gave us this power to reshape ourselves. Add, subtract, redefine. And speaking of reshaping, hair. The desire for curly hair is ancient, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Look at Roman sculptures. Nearly all women have curls. It's unlikely they were all born that way.
And that fascination just kept going.
Yeah.
Late 19th century, they had those curling irons, metal tongs, heated over a gas flame.
Sounds incredibly dangerous, testing it on paper first.
To avoid singeing your hair off. Then Carl Nessler, early 20th century, invents the chemical perm with this massive, elaborate machine.
Applying industrial tech to grooming, basically.
The science is clever, breaking disulfide bonds in the hair, reshaping it, then reforming the bonds. But Nessler apparently burnt his wife's hair off twice.
Ouch! Talk about dedication. And 6 hours under that thing.
But the curls lasted for months. Thankfully, it got easier. By the 70s, you had gentler acid perms, hence those huge caps of curls everywhere.
It became accessible.
Now, the 20th century wasn't all serious surgery and perms. There were some seriously weird beauty gadgets, too.
Slightly amused. Oh, I bet. Where science meets wishful thinking.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like the freckle removal device using carbon dioxide. You'd cover your eyes and nose and just blast your face. Did absolutely nothing for melanin, of course.
Just unsubstantiated claims, really.
Then there was this creepy cryogenic therapy thing, stick your face in a freezer. A milder version exists today, cryofacial massage, but does it really stop aging? Probably not.
You see that often older tech rebranded with new promises.
My absolute favorite, though, Max Factor's Beauty Calibrator. Looked like something from a bad sci-fi movie. Supposedly measured your face to find flaws.
And surprise, surprise, everyone had flaws that needed.
His makeup. Brilliant marketing, terrible science.
Manufacturing flaws to sell solutions.
And don't forget the weight loss chairs. With metal springs. Supposed to jiggle the fat away, probably just gave you a weird, uncomfortable ride.
Which leads us nicely into the whole obsession with thinness.
It's such a shift, isn't it? Renaissance, no big deal. 40s, 50s, pinups, celebrated curves, then bam, 20th century, thinness equals happiness, success. Mostly thanks to media.
Even in the Soviet Union, magazines were pushing weight loss. It became a global narrative.
And fat became the enemy. People forgot its essential energy, hormones, protecting organs. We need some essential fat.
Actors draining water for shoots just shows how unhealthy those extreme looks really are.
So naturally, this obsession led to some truly bizarre and dangerous diets.
The lengths people went to, it's quite concerning.
The Fletcher diet, chew every bite 32 times, then spit out what's left. Exhausting.
And is socially awkward, I imagine.
And the genuinely scary ones. The arsenic diet. People taking pills with arsenic in them. A known poison.
Just pure desperation and a shocking lack of understanding about the body.
It may be the most horrific. The tapeworm diet. Swallow tapeworm larvae, let them eat your food inside you.
Aside from malnutrition, the risk of them migrating to organs, terrifying. And the rumor about Maria Callas using it.
It's just awful.
Yeah.
Then the 90s hit and we got heroin chic. Extreme thinness is high fashion. Kate Moss was the face of it.
Whatever the reasons behind those modeling standards, the cultural impact was huge and often damaging.
Yeah, you saw those awful online communities, 40 kilograms, typical anorexic. So harmful, especially for young people.
The tragic story of Valeria Levitina, bullied for looking healthy, dieted to extremes, and it ultimately cost her life, a devastating consequence.
And layered on top of the thinness obsession is this intense fear of aging.
Especially that societal double standard, isn't it? Men get distinguished, women get past their prime.
Exactly. But we're living longer now. People understandably want to look and feel vital for longer, so the demand for anti-aging procedures just skyrockets.
It ties into self-confidence, social standing. There's that film, Substance, exploring exactly this.
So biologically, what's happening when we age? Skin-wise, I mean.
Well, it's a natural process. The skin layers thin out, those facial fat pads, like in the cheeks, they shrink, causing that sinking look.
And collagen production drops off.
Right. Less collagen means less firmness, more wrinkles. The outer layer, the epidermis, becomes less elastic, drier, doesn't regenerate as well. It's a combination of things.
Which explains why people try so hard to fight it. But sometimes it's just too much.
Absolutely. Overdoing procedures can lead to really unnatural results and sometimes serious problems.
Look at Courtney Cox. She's talked openly about regretting some things. Experts think lots of fillers, maybe a facelift. The fillers especially can look puffy if overdone.
Because they attract water, right. Hyaluronic acid can cause swelling. And there's that rare but serious risk of blocking blood vessels, necrosis, like Christina Carson's story.
A terrible risk. And facelifts themselves. Major surgery. Incisions, pulling skin, lifting muscle. And it's not even permanent.
Plus blepharoplasty, eyelid surgery, can really change your whole look, sometimes unexpectedly.
But maybe the most extreme, most worrying procedure we found. The phenol peel.
Oh, yes. That's highly aggressive, is putting it mildly. The potential for systemic toxicity is very real.
It's basically a super deep chemical peel. A 27-year-old man in Brazil died last year after having one for acne scars. Died.
Because phenol, derived from petroleum, goes deep into the dermis. It's meant to boost collagen, but it's essentially a controlled third-degree chemical burn.
The pain is meant to be horrendous. Recovery takes months. Redness, crusting, swelling. And because phenol is a poison, it can damage your liver, kidneys, heart.
And the irony, It can even cause new scarring after all that trauma.
It really makes you ask, how far have we actually come from lead powders and mercury ointments? Seems like we just found new ways to risk it all.
A very sobering thought.
And it's not just the face anymore, is it? Knee lifts, fillers in hands, décolleté, arm lifts. The list goes on and on.
It's the whole body now, a desire for total youthfulness.
And the daily routine some people have now. Starting before dawn, skincare, hair, contouring, nails, workouts, brows, laser hair removal. It sounds utterly exhausting.
The sheer investment of time, energy, money, it's huge. You have to question how fundamentally healthy it is.
And the scale. Nearly 5 million filler procedures in 2019 alone. That's like the whole population of Ireland getting fillers in 1 year.
And it's still growing. It shows how normalized these things have become.
Now, we had a little debate about the big lip trend. I thought maybe anti-aging, lips thin with age. But Lisa, our scriptwriter, reckoned it was more imitation Angelina Jolie. What do you think?
Probably both play a part. Youthfulness is key. Fuller lips signal that. But yeah, you can't ignore the impact of figures like Jolie with naturally full lips. She definitely set a trend.
By about 2018, it felt like everyone had big lips. Techniques are better now, more natural maybe, but it's still huge. Funny thing is, Jolie's lips don't even look that big compared to some results now.
Shows how standards shift, doesn't it? What was extreme becomes normal, then gets overtaken.
An imitation. Look at nose jobs, rhinoplasty. Everyone wants a straighter nose. Nobody asks for a hump to be added.
Suggests a real bias towards certain features.
And get this, the propaganda of European noses. Disney princesses always have tiny upturned noses. Villains get the bigger, hooked ones. What message does that send?
Subliminal messaging, maybe.
And now we have the Insta-nose. Super specific, narrow, small, tip turned up, popularized by bloggers. But getting that surgically, it's complex. Blood vessels, breathing function, symmetry.
It shows how media and influencers can make even subtle features highly desirable.
Then there's by chat, fat pad removal, more recent. Again, Angelina Jolie gets blamed supposedly making high cheekbones the ideal.
So people get these fat pads removed from their cheeks.
Yeah, but they serve a function, cushioning chewing muscles. Removing them doesn't change that much, and later in life, as your face naturally loses volume, you might end up looking kind of gaunt.
Like Kushai the Immortal.
Exactly. And it's ironic because then the baby face trend comes along, which is all about round, full cheeks.
Trends contradicting each other. The cycle continues.
The baby face look. Round features, full lips, big eyes, chubby cheeks. Almost childlike. Some joke it makes you look like you need protecting.
People achieve it with contouring, fillers, peels. It always comes back to youthfulness, doesn't it?
Seems like it. And moving down. The booty boom. Thanks, Kim Kardashian. Suddenly curves were back, but specifically a big backside.
And implants weren't always the best way, so lipofilling took off.
Right, fat transfer. Take fat from somewhere else, inject it into the butt. Or breasts, calves, even the forehead sometimes for rejuvenation.
Shows the power of celebrities shaping body ideals and how surgery adapts.
Now for something truly extreme, limb lengthening, for height.
Because height is often linked to attractiveness, especially for men, and definitely in modeling.
Forget hanging from a bar. This is the Elizarov apparatus, originally for fixing injuries, growing bone.
Yeah.
But they use it to make people taller.
How does that even work?
They surgically cut the bone, put in pins attached to an external frame, and then slowly, gradually crank the frame to stretch the bone apart, millimeter by millimeter.
That sounds incredibly painful and long.
It is. It stretches everything. Tendons, muscles, nerves, skin. You can gain up to maybe 13 centimeters, but the recovery is brutal. Relearning to walk.
And people do this just because they're unhappy with their height, not for medical reasons.
Some do. It shows the sacrifices aren't just made by women. It's a profound dissatisfaction driving it.
It really underscores the psychological weight of perceived flaws.
Now, male standards have evolved too. Remember John Carl Flugel's great male renunciation? By the 20th century, men weren't supposed to be peacocks anymore. Beauty was for women. Men were useful.
But that shifted later in the century, didn't it? Action heroes, Superman physiques.
Yeah, men started focusing more on appearance. Barbershops made a huge comeback. And now lots of guys get manicures, pedicures, fillers, Botox, often quietly.
Societal expectations changed again. More focus on male grooming.
And men worry about aging too. Male skin ages slower initially thanks to testosterone, but changes can seem more abrupt later. Plus, maybe a less healthy lifestyle sometimes play a part.
So more men are seeking surgery.
Numbers are rising. About 14% of plastic surgery patients in 2023 were men, most common up. Still rhinoplasty.
And the gym culture. the pursuit of muscle.
Huge, sometimes involving steroids, which can lead to muscle dysmorphia, obsessing about not being big enough, even when you are, like Nicholas DePorter's story.
And then there are things like Synthol.
That oil people inject for fake muscle look, super dangerous, hard to stop. And steroids themselves, aggression, depression, messing up natural hormones, acne, hair loss.
Plus, the hypermuscular superheroes in movies create totally unrealistic expectations.
Absolutely. And the flip side, baldness. Hair equals youth, masculinity, right? But DHT from testosterone causes male pattern baldness.
The irony. But transplants have improved massively.
Totally. They take follicles from the back and sides, where they resist DHT, and implant them meticulously into balding areas.
And the transplanted hair grows naturally.
Yep. They can even do beards, chests, but only where hair could naturally grow. Can't magic follicles out of thin air.
It shows that desire to hold on to youth and the tech trying to meet it.
Now, if we're talking beauty standard hotspots, South Korea. Highest rate of plastic surgery in world. Average age, 21.
21! That's incredibly young. Surgery is a common gift.
Popular procedures. Double eyelid surgery for bigger eyes, V-shaped face contouring, skin lightening. K-pop culture is a massive driver. Idols face immense pressure, and fans follow.
A powerful mix of culture, society, and celebrity influence on a huge scale.
It's striking, isn't it, when you compare old standards to now? Those crazy restrictive dresses, corsets, wigs, are they that different from heavy foundation, white lipstick, platform heels on ice, sheer tights in winter?
The underlying motivation seems similar, conforming to an ideal, even if it's uncomfortable or impractical, maybe even irrational.
History repeats itself, maybe. Aristocrats set trends to look different. Lower classes copy them to look beautiful or rich.
Then in the 20th century, media stars took over from royalty as the trendsetters.
We imitate people we see as successful, popular. And now, affording procedures is almost a status symbol itself. Like how tanning flipped pale used to mean rich, indoors. Now tan means rich, leisure time.
Shows how social and economic factors really drive these things.
And you can't ignore conformity, that basic human need to belong. Following trends feels like it boosts social success.
Plus, the biological angle, we're drawn to signs of fertility, health, large breasts, hips, thick hair, full lips, big eyes, linked to estrogen, youth.
Then there's the super stimuli idea. We're even more drawn to exaggerated versions, bigger lips, bigger muscles, because they hit our brain harder than natural cues.
Like those bird experiments with fake oversized eggs.
Exactly. Look how muscle ideals change from Chuck Norris to today's superheroes. It's super stimuli in action.
It's a complex mix, social, psychological, biological.
But here's a bit of hope. Studies show familiarity increases perceived beauty. The more you see diverse faces, the broader your own standard might become.
So more exposure, more connection to different kinds of people could actually widen our acceptance. That's optimistic.
Definitely. Okay, last big topic. The patriarchy debate. Its influence on beauty standards. It's complex, no easy answers.
There's the feminist male gaze theory standards shaped by what straight men find attractive.
And the argument that conforming feels like survival for women in that system. But then women also embrace their own sexuality, their own beauty choices.
It's hard to untangle imposed standards from personal choice, isn't it?
Totally. I mean, from a male view, are men really dictating nail art trends? Or eyelash styles? Seems more like female peer influence, personal expression sometimes.
It's definitely multifaceted, historically and now. No single explanation fits all.
So whatever the reasons, biology, society, media, patriarchy, status, these shifting standards can have real downsides, especially for self-acceptance.
Feeling not good enough because you don't match some filtered image, it's absurd, really.
And it leads to harmful stuff. Crazy diets, risky procedures, embracing diversity, being true to yourself. That just seems healthier, kinder.
Agreed.
If you found this interesting, definitely check our previous deep dive on earlier historical standards. See the connections. Okay, you journeyed through centuries of weird beauty stuff with us. What was the most jaw-dropping thing you heard today?
There are quite a few contenders.
Head down to the comments. Tell us which beauty standard, past or present, you find totally baffling or maybe strangely fascinating. Let's get a conversation started.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
Did this deep dive make you rethink any images you see daily? If yes, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs a dose of beauty history.
Spread the knowledge.
And if you want more explorations into the why behind our world, make sure you're subscribed to the Time Cabinet. Turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what we unpack next.
Definitely subscribe.
Thanks for joining us in the Time Cabinet. Until our next exploration.
Indeed. Always more to uncover about why we are the way we are.
Life can still be good.
You mean I have my eyes, but no face?
My friend, there's such a thing as plastic surgery. We can give you a face. But what we cannot give you is a name.
Stop asking me who I am and do what you please with me. Give me any name you like.